BBC Hooniverse.
Welcome to this video talking all things the story and the engine. But we're not really talking about the engine, we're just talking about the story. So, the story and the engine touched upon a moral aspect, which I want to discuss. The moral aspect and the message that it sends people is the story, right? The story is everything and is key. And what I don't mean is I don't mean the story to our episode. I mean, and I'm gonna sound like I'm talking emotionally and I'm talking with meaning, and that's how it should have taken this film. The story tells of a culture that not just... So I don't know whether or not it's the culture within the barbershop itself, or whether or not Nigeria as a country takes this same philosophy that Ncuti says the barbershops do. Nigerian, African, all sorts of different versions of the barbershop. It won't just be Nigeria specifically, but in our example, because this was set in Lagos, Nigeria, and I was writing my review, they couldn't fly out to Lagos, Nigeria, because it would cost too much to send 2,000 plus crew member, cast and crew to Nigeria, like Lagos, Nigeria. So, we learned, when I say we, I mean people that might not know of this culture of sitting in a chair and telling stories. You learn that the most important thing in life, no matter who you are or what you are, is the story. Doctor Who has lasted for 62 years because it's all about a story of an alien travelling through time and space, meeting new people, falling in love, losing them. And I think that it makes it magical, it makes it what it is. You pick up a target novelization because you love the story. And I think that's what this shows, and I think this is what has really been bugging me, right? Because it's bigger than it is. So, trying to work out what it means, it's bigger than a single review. It's bigger than life itself. Because I've said this before, and I will continually say it again. Stories are the most powerful things in life. So I could tell you the story of how I got into Doctor Who, but that's personal to me. So that's my story. And you could tell me a completely different story. And that's fine, because that's how stories work. The story of the engine sits in this place of, you can see that it's really important, because why else would that screen show a tapestry-esque style of what it is? I think that when you look at it more in depth, you see why it's the way it is, and how you can sort of take it in your own way. The best bit, in my opinion, about Doctor Who in general is that with other programmes of this popularity, let's say Taskmaster, Taskmaster, you can search up on YouTube or Vimeo or whichever video sharing platform you're looking at, and you can probably find fan versions of Taskmaster. It's two people and their friends. That is the essence of fan Taskmaster, and the story there is that the person that's organised it said, I really wanted to do some silly things and make my friends do silly activities. And then when you look at fan Doctor Who within fan films, fan series, and fan audios, the reason why I say fan films and fan series separately is because some people do the film or short film. Some people create a 6-part, 8-part, 12-part series, and some people do the exact same, like a short story or a full adventure for audio. So I think that what Doctor Who does really well, and I think that I was talking to Ian McLaughlin, and I'd asked him, because I'd seen that the bloke that plays Andor, I think he plays Andor, I don't know, I don't like Star Wars, I can't stand it, so I don't really know, but he was on Sunday Brunch, and I think it was Edith Beaumont who had made the point that what Star Wars does really well is that it can separate itself off and tell the stories it wants to tell within that one universe. And that's what spin-offs do really well for Doctor Who. They tell its story whilst not damaging the story of what we all know and love. I think that what really works really well when thinking about the story, The Engine and the 11th Hour, is that Doctor Who and the Doctor is portrayed as this fairy tale-like character that's adventurous and is perfect. And I think that this is what we need to look at, really, when you look at things more importantly, that, like, Wet once said, love is all around us, and that's the way it goes. But I really think it's the stories are all around us, and that's the way it goes. Television, last night with the BAFTAs, and yet again Doctor Who didn't win a BAFTA. I'm rather annoyed at that, but that's beside every point. The BAFTAs tells the story of these creatives that think of an idea and go, I want to make that. I want to tell that story. That's what the story of The Engine does. The story of The Engine says these people thrive off telling stories. Not their stories, someone else's stories. And I think that's what, when you drill to the heart of who the Barber was and how he became this villain, he was driven by stories. And I could say, going, once upon a time, there was a man called Jeff who was a massive fan of Doctor Who, and he got to play the Doctor in the end. The end. And my favourite bit, right, and I want to say this, is a 6-word story. So since watching it, I was trying to work out what would be a good 6-word story, and it would be the Doctor saves the world the Doctor saves the world. They cheer. The Doctor saves the world. The planet is. The Doctor saves planets, aliens, and the galaxy. Still be a few girls, but that would be my 6-word story. And that should be true. I think that off the back of this, I think we should see more Doctor Who based 6-word stories. I want to see some in those anthology books where it's like short story books. I want to see a 6-word story and that. And I think that's what Doctor Who teaches us. Not just in this episode, but in life. Doctor Who teaches us that everyone's got a story. Sarah Jane once said at the very end of the Sarah Jane Adventures, we're all stories in the end. And So I want to round this video by saying, we're all stories in the end. You've heard my story, but what's yours?
Don't forget to subscribe to the official Tom Mason YouTube channel.